Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging right into something that's probably shaping your work life, maybe without you even fully realizing it. It's this ongoing, really fascinating tug-of-war. Companies wanting people back in the office,
Right.
and then workers holding tight to that remote flexibility they've come to value so much.
Absolutely.
So the big question for this deep dive is, what's really driving all this in 2025? What's underneath it all? Our mission, really, is to unpack the latest reports, the newest insights. We want to get beyond just the headlines,
Yeah, cut through the noise a bit.
Exactly. To understand the reality of remote work now. We've got some fresh sources that honestly reveal some surprising things, maybe challenge a few assumptions too.
And, understanding these shifts isn't just for CEOs or HR people. It really impacts everyone.
There.
Whether you're an employee trying to figure out the new rules, or maybe you're a manager balancing team needs, or heck, even if you're just curious about where work is heading, these dynamics, they're reshaping things profoundly.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Where do we stand right now? First off, our sources are showing that, okay, it's 3 years after the third COVID wave settled down.
Right.
And hybrid work, still very much the norm globally. It wasn't just some temporary thing.
No, exactly. It seems to have, settled in. The numbers really back that up.
What are they showing?
Well, globally, the average is about 1.3 days a week working from home. And the key thing, that number has actually stabilized since 2023.
Stabilized. So despite all the talk.
Despite all the headlines screaming, back to the office. Yeah. Now, there are differences region to region, of course.
Like what?
You've got maybe half a day, sometimes up to a day in Asia, Latin America, Africa, around a day.
Yeah.
Europe, maybe 1 to 1.5 days.
Okay.
And then the US, UK, Australia, maybe closer to 1 or even 2 days a week from home.
Got it.
But the main point is these levels. They've stayed remarkably consistent. It's kind of the new baseline.
And it's clear employees aren't just, putting up with this. They really value it.
Oh, absolutely. Deeply.
We found this detail, get this, in the Danish labor market. Access to hybrid and remote work. It's become as important a benefit as pensions.
Wow.
Or vacation days. Think about that. That's a fundamental shift, isn't
That's
it?
huge. It really shows how ingrained that value is now.
Yeah.
And the State of Remote Work report for 2025, it adds more layers to that.
Yeah. What does it say?
Well, it indicates that in the U.S., 69% of companies now offer some kind of work location flexibility.
69%. That's up from...
51% just last year. So a big jump.
Okay.
And if you look at smaller companies, fewer than 500 employees, that number goes up to 73% offering full flexibility.
Impressive. And from the employee's view?
Well, 51%, so just over half, say they prefer to work remotely full-time, and they actually report higher job satisfaction when they do.
Makes sense.
And get this, a massive 90% of all employees praise remote work for the flexibility and, the better work-life balance it offers. The picture is pretty clear on the employee side.
It really sounds like, okay, problem solved, right?
Yeah.
Companies have the frameworks. They've seen cost savings, time savings.
Yeah.
Employees are happier, more satisfied in many cases. One report even said there should be no real reason to turn back.
Logically.
But,
Yeah.
and this is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit counterintuitive. Despite all that, these return-to-office mandates, RTO, they're not fading away. They're actually on the rise globally and getting, more intense.
Intensifying is definitely the right word. We are seeing a real tightening of those RTO requirements pretty much everywhere.
How so?
Well, many companies are mandating more days in the office, actively pulling back from full-time hybrid or certainly fully remote setups.
Any big names?
Oh, yeah. You've got the high-profile ones, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, SpaceX, Tesla, all basically saying 5 days a week back in the office.
Wow, full return.
Full return. And it's not just the U.S. You mentioned Denmark earlier.
Yeah.
The company Joe and the Juice there, they mandated full-time office work for all staff.
So much for that flexibility benefit.
Exactly. And across Europe, there's sort of an emerging trend, allowing maybe a maximum of just 1 day a week from home.
Okay, so this really begs the question, why? Why this big push back to the office when remote seems to work pretty well for many?
Right. What's the real driver?
Well, one angle is the manager perspective. Professor Christine Ibsen, she's a researcher in Denmark.
Yes, I know her work.
She points out that a lot of managers just prefer having people physically there, often because, frankly, they're not that experienced in managing remote teams.
That makes sense. Communication, connection.
Hmm.
It can feel harder when you're not used to doing it remotely.
It's a different skill set.
Definitely. But here's the crucial bit from Ibsen's research, the part that really makes you pause.
What's that?
She found no evidence, zero, indicating that employees are actually less effective when they work from home.
No evidence.
None that she could find.
Right.
Which really challenges that whole idea that RTO is primarily about boosting productivity, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that leads us to, well, a more skeptical viewpoint, maybe even provocative.
Okay.
Kurt Steinhorst, he's an American management strategist, and he does not mince words.
What does he say?
He says, quote, corporate return to office decrees are not about employee productivity. They are about employer distrust and mistrust, control and power.
Wow. Okay. That's blunt.
Very blunt.
So he's basically saying the quiet part out loud, or at least his interpretation of it.
It seems like it. What's his reasoning behind that?
Well, Steinhorst argues that the sort of unspoken assumption driving these stricter RTO policies, it's this underlying belief that if you leave employees to work on their own, independently, they'll slack off. They'll become disengaged, underperform, maybe even quit. It's a fundamental lack of trust.
So the whole conversation around RTO,
Yeah.
the mandates, the tracking sometimes, it's not really about efficiency, according to him.
Exactly. He's arguing that the discussions, the enforcement, it's not primarily about making things run better or producing more.
That's something else entirely.
It's about control, it's about power dynamics, and fundamentally a trust issue.
So let's try and pull this together. The core tension we've sort of uncovered here today is, it's pretty stark.
Mm-hmm.
You have the undeniable value of remote work for employees, flexibility, balance.
And proven benefits for companies, too. Cost savings, time savings.
Right. All that clashing really head on with this push for RTO that's getting stronger.
Yeah.
And at least for some observers like Steinhorst, this push seems to be coming from somewhere deeper. Issues of control, trust, power, not necessarily productivity.
It's a complex picture, and we really encourage you listening to think about these different angles.
Yeah.
Consider these perspectives as you navigate your own work life, or even just as you watch how things are changing out there. What really stands out to you about these underlying forces at play?
And maybe one final thought for you to mull over as we wrap up.
Okay.
If remote work has proven itself effective in many ways, if it offers real benefits, what does it actually mean for the future of work when things like power and trust become such central parts of the conversation? Something to think about.